Hello, this is how the KDE community uses the upstream standard and the file format, and how you can improve the upstream files such that the KDE software is presented as well as possible in the various application stores such as KDE Discover, the App Store application from KDE, GNOME Software, the App Store from the GNOME community, but also additional application stores such as the Snap Store, the FlatHub website, the Microsoft Store, the F-Droid alternative App Store for Android, and also the Google Play official Android App Store. This is the wiki page that we have, community.kde.org/guidelines and how-tos upstream. Upstream is a standard and a file format. It was about open collaboration services. It's about presenting graphical user interface applications, but not only, in various application stores and installers. Okay, let's see an example of such an application. So this is the KDE graphical user interface desktop application, the calculator, KCalc. This is how it's presented in Discover, the KDE App Store. Then this application is also available in various other places, and most of the information that's presented stems from a single source code file. So let's see that. There's a website called apps.kde.org. Let's find KCalc in here. apps.kde.org/kcalc. And we can see this application KCalc also in the Snap Store, snapcraft.io/kcalc, in FlatHub, flathub.org/apps/org.kde.kcalc, and also as part of upstream, there's the protocol upstream : / you can see at the bottom of the Firefox window. If you click on this link, the application that knows how to handle the protocol upstream : in this case the App Store Discover, will be started, and it will try to install the application with the ID org.kde.kcalc.desktop, which this application ID also exists in the appstream file. Let's find this appstream file. Browse source code. This is the official Git repository, the GitLab project for KCalc, invent.kde.org/utilities/kcalc. Let's find in here a file with extension XML, either appstream.xml or metainfo.xml. And it's in here, it's appdata.xml. This is the file format. It's an XML, UTF-8. This is the ID. An application should have one ID. There's guideline on how to create the ID. So in reverse DNS order, in the style of Java packages. There's license information both for this file, which is metadata license, and also for the binary that you're downloading. So says project license. I'm guessing this is not the license for parts of the Git repository, but actually the final license for the graphical user interface application that you're actually downloading, so for the binary of the KCalc application. This is the short username visible name, and it's translatable into various languages, part of the branding. Then there's a very short sentence that describes what the application does, which is summary, should not end with a dot. There's guidelines for most of these elements in the XML. All of the elements that have an XML colon lang are translatable. So summary is also translatable. And then there's description, which should use paragraphs, which should use lists, which is also translatable paragraph by paragraph. This is an unnumbered list. So you cannot put in here any HTML you want. There's a very, very short list of HTML-like tags that you can use inside this XML element description. So an unnumbered list with list items. So this is a list item. This is an unnumbered list. This is the first paragraph in the description. This thing. This is the summary. This is the human readable app name, which is KCalc name. The ID should not be that human visible org.kcalc.desktop. It's visible if you have the appstream : / protocol URL, URI. Okay. There's also the possibility of specifying who created the application, developer. Let's see what else. And then there's a number of URL types. I know there are 10 or so. There's homepage for the official app URL, webpage, homepage. There's the issue tracker. There's the product manual available online, how to donate, and there's additional types for a URL. Screenshots is a list of screenshots. In the case of KCalc, there's 4 screenshots in Discover, 4 screenshots also in apps.ke.org KCalc. Let's see if they're the same screenshot. I'm not sure why there's a card behind this screenshot. It should be like this. The screenshot already has a background shadow. But they look pretty similar, so they probably are the same icons both in apps.ke.org and in KDE Plasma Discover. Okay, so this way of presenting the screenshot is okay with just a screenshot. Again, the screenshot has transparency all around and also the shadow. This card thing is extra, should not exist. Okay. Then I can tell that the screenshot was taken on a non-default setup. At least in Kubuntu, there's no virtual desktops, so the pin icon for showing an application on all desktops, on all virtual desktops, does not or is not shown by default in the window title bar. So I would remove this pin button in the screenshots. Okay. Then, so if the screenshots are very old, represent the state of the application 2 years ago, you should improve the screenshots, create new screenshots, but read the specifications on how to create the screenshots. Go into that immediately. Then you should proofread the page that presents the applications everywhere in all of the graphical user interface app stores that you know of, in Windows Store, in apps.key.org, in FlatHub, Snap Store, F-Droid, Play Store, etc. All everywhere where this application is available. The strings should be synchronized. The text should be the same across all of these app stores and web pages. The screenshots should be the same. The application icon should be the same. This is the correct application icon. This is the wrong application icon. Okay. And you should make sure that the URLs are okay and point to a page that actually works, so the URL is not dead, and points to a page that doesn't, then redirect you to a final page. Put the final page directly in here. Just replace the URL. The fact that this page suggests that you use the IRC instead of suggesting that you should use the newer communication protocol, which is Matrix. I'm not sure if that's a good idea. Either present both Matrix and IRC or present just the Matrix one. Okay. The releases information, unfortunately, is not created automatically and placed in the upstream XML file. Let's build using KDE Builder kcalc and take a look around inside the appstream XML file. While kcalc is still building, let's look at the KDE goal all about the apps. So says that the KDE community has more than 200 applications, and we are creating release source code tarballs. The various Linux distributions, BSD distributions, etc., other operating systems take these release tarballs and package them for their operating systems. But that goes only so far. We should, as the KDE community, we should try to package our software and offer it in additional app stores such as the ones that we have mentioned here, FlatHub, the Snap Store, the Windows App Store, F-Droid for Android, and the Google Play Store, and maybe other places. Also, we should provide downloadable DMG installables for the macOS operating system. Maybe we should offer nightly builds of the applications that can be installed on the Windows operating system as NSIS installers. Maybe we should provide nightly or maybe weekly app image files for Linux AMD 64. And there's a fabricator board attached to this goal, which takes an individual application such as ARKWord and tries to package it for one of these stores or one of these binary file formats. So the binary file formats would be upstream for Linux, installable executables using NSIS packager installer technology for Microsoft Windows, DMG mountable installers for the macOS operating system, both AMD 64 and Apple Silicon, and signed APK files for the Android operating system in case you don't want to use any app store, not F-Droid, not Google Play Store. So I can see here Microsoft Store. I can see Chocolatey, which is a Windows packaging technology. Google Play as the App Store for Android, which the application's K-trip should be packaged towards. There's also Homebrew for Linux and Homebrew for macOS. So basically this is a packaging effort both to improve the documentation, such as the packagers for the various technologies and operating systems can easier package the KDE software, but also a direct packaging effort from the KDE community. The KDE community is writing the source code, the recipes, the continuous integration jobs, GitLab CI, etc., such that the installers are being created and then the installers are deployed, possibly also using GitLab CI towards the various app stores. Let's see if KCalc has built correctly. Yes, it did. Let's see if it runs. Here it is. Let's look a bit at the screenshots and see if they're modern enough. Okay, I'm not sure why the text is bold there, but not on my screen. This is the former resolution. Nowadays, it's the KCalc window is a bit wider. And this change is from more than a year ago. So this alone would create the need to improve the screenshots in KCalc. Let's see what's happening in here. The numeral system mode. 1, 3, 4. And how do we show that thing? Bit edit this guy. Okay. Yeah, the screenshots are modern enough. At least this one is okay-ish. Yeah, the screenshots are modern enough. The application that I see in these screenshots seems to be the Qt 6 version of KCalc, not the Qt 5 one. Maybe just redo this screenshot, the very first one out of 4. Okay, let's look at the directory where KCalc has been git cloned by the build tool KDE Builder. It's under tilde/kd/src/kcalc. Let's look with Visual Studio Code in here. So the appstream file is top level, this one ending with appdata.xml. The name, file name appdata.xml is not the newest and greatest. That would be .metainfo.xml. So if it's possible for you to just rename this file from appdata.xml to metainfo.xml and do a merge request, that would not be a bad idea. Maybe the merge request gets accepted. Okay, so I was saying that one of the final XML nodes in here, which is releases, is not automatically generated for all applications. Maybe I'm wrong, but that was the status a couple of weeks ago. So maybe you can work to improve the automation. So the script or GitLab CI job, whatever creates these releases XML nodes for some applications, put that automation for all of the KDE application, graphical user interface applications. Or if there's no such automation, if somebody actually has created line 606 by hand, then do create that automation. It will be very good for us to have these lines be populated automatically once the KDE community creates a new release of the software. Okay, then you can look at multiple KDE applications, git clone them, open the appdata or .xml or metainfo.xml files side by side and compare. Some of the files, some of the KDE applications do not have content rating type OARS 1.1. This thing should exist everywhere, and why? You should look at the documentation for content rating. I have searched upstream content rating, and unfortunately a very popular usage of the name upstream, so upstream is actually bad branding because AWS, Amazon Web Services, already uses upstream, and if you're going to ask 100 developers what upstream is, some of these developers will not know what it is, but the others will say that it's an AWS thing. AWS is very popular among developers. So I don't know, maybe you should always prepend all of your searches with Linux upstream, not with upstream. And even so, in this case, the correct result was the fourth one. So first, second, third, and the fourth one is this one, www.freedesktop.org/docs/chop catalog data. So software upstream docs. In here you need to search content rating, and it describes the XML element, says that it should exist top level in the appdata.xml or metainfo.xml file. There's additional description. This element must exist because otherwise maybe the upstream command line interface tool that validates this file will complain. But then KDE applications don't really deal with these things, age ratings and alcohol and language, etc. But again, if some of the applications do have this XML element and the upstream validator command line tool complains about it, do add it to all of the KDE applications. Okay, launchable, this thing for graphical user interface applications makes the connection between the file appdata.xml and the file.desktop. So between this file and this file. These files have a bit of overlap. They contain the same name and translated names. I'm not sure why this comment has nothing to do with the summary or the description. Why isn't the desktop comment identical to the summary inside appdata.xml? At least the summary does have some rules on what you should put inside the summary. Let's actually do that. Search for summary. So says that the summary should be short. If your application is of type desktop, it should be taken from the desktop file. If this XML element summary is missing, yet the appdata.xml is related with there's a relation inside the appdata.xml towards the desktop file, then instead of the missing summary, some information will be taken from the desktop file. This thing. It is usually taken from a desktop file if the application does not ship an upstream metadata file. The element is translatable. Additional rules, again, are presented by the command line tool that validates the files, these files, appdata.xml or metainfo.xml. Okay, let's see what we're missing. So we went over URLs, description, name, summary, screenshots. This provides binary kcalc, which let's see how mandatory it is. So if it's an application that handles media types or MIME types, you should use a media type. If it's providing .so libraries, you should say in here, but we're not about that. We should start improving the appdata.xml files first for graphical user interface apps. And then we'll see for other type of applications, command line apps, libraries, etc. Fonts, you can also have appdata.xml files for fonts, or firmware, Python 3 modules, etc. If your graphical user interface application's binary executable is part of the path environment variable, and all of the KDE applications are like that, then you should have a binary XML element inside the provides XML element and say what's the name in /usr/bin or kcalc in this case. So it's all lowercase kcalc. Okay. Let's get back to the guidelines. Again, you should read the documentation from the upstream project. You should run the command line validator tool from the upstream project. You should read the guidelines about upstream data from FlatHub. And you should read the guidelines about upstream from the KDE community. And then put them together, compile a list of your own with what are the newest trends, what's state of the art, what XML elements should exist in this file, in which order, and what should they contain. And here it talks about the ID. We should be in reverse DNS notation. This should be used also in the file name. So should be org.kd.kcalc.appdata.xml.desktop. The desktop file should also have a name like this, org.kd.kcalc.desktop. If it should contain desktop or not, I don't know. Let's search. How do we search? Well, there's documentation somewhere for the ID. It was in the obvious place. The very first XML element is documented in the documentation. But I'm not sure why. Okay, so I didn't. I closed the XML element, so less than ID greater than, the way it's in here. But the documentation puts an entire XML element including its closing. So as if the XML element did not contain anything. So the correct way to search is ID slash and then greater than. So from what I see, the official documentation of the upstream project says that the ID should not contain .desktop. So should be TLD vendor product, which is org.kd, because this is the KDE website, kd.org, and then .product, which is the KDE project, which is kcalc. With an example given in here just for the KDE community, org.kd.gwenview, not org.kd.gwenview.desktop. So this is not great. But if you want to change from an ID with .desktop to one without, you should do a transition. Let's see how you do that. This one, using replaces. So you have ID org.kd.kcalc, and then an XML element replaces, and ID org.kd.kcalc.desktop, and then you close the replaces XML element. But again, as I said, these different places, upstream, FlatHub, KDE, have a bit different guidelines and recommendations, so you should compile those three lists into just one and eventually ask around. For instance, a question would be for the appdata XML element ID, should we respect the KDE documentations or the documentations or the requirements of whoever wrote that part of the wiki page? Maybe who wrote this part of the wiki page was wrong. Maybe this part of the wiki page was written 10 years ago when the upstream guidelines were different. Who knows? But me reading this, I would suggest that the upstream documentation is newer and more knowledgeable and more canonical and authoritative. So the source of truth should probably be upstream, not one wiki page in the KDE community. There's all sorts of KDE applications that do things a bit different. What they put in XML elements might be different. The fact that some XML elements exist or not might be different. So you should have an effort like this, where you look at different KDE applications, different FlatHub applications, different GNOME applications, and then there's the generator for upstream file from the upstream project, which is this one. So this is a wizard from the upstream project. We want a graphical user interface application for the KDE community. Name of the application, human readable name of your application. We don't really do human readable names, so it's kcalc. Short text describing. Let's see if this text would be valid. Homepage of the application. This is the correct homepage without a trailing slash. And then the description is the thing with many paragraphs. Starts here. Unique software identifier, it automatically proposes something, but this apps is extra. Licensing for metadata. There's already something selected. Where is it? CC01 Created Commons 01 Universal. Okay. Project license. Well, the project license is not that easy to compute because I'm not a lawyer. So maybe the developers of this project kcalc wanted that individual pages be licensed as GPL2 or later, but then the aggregated installer executable application, graphical user interface application that you can actually run on your computer might not be licensable as GPL2 or later, depending on the requirements of the libraries that it uses, for instance. Or maybe some files cannot be compiled together with other files from this project because of incompatible open source licenses. I don't know, maybe you cannot have GPL v3 licensed files with and other files be LGPL versus version 2.1. Who knows? I'm not a lawyer. So says GPL2 or later. Where is that letter G? To or later, this guy. And you should add some screenshots. Screenshots must have URLs. So we probably have them already. So these are captions, a list of screenshots. This guy. Okay, already have a .desktop file. This thing sounds like an overkill to say what input control methods your application has, because most KDE graphical user interface applications can be usable with mouse and keyboard. Most KDE applications can be used on touch devices with touch input, like a touch screen. There's a ton of 20-inch monitors with touch screen. But the touch screen is just a way of moving the mouse around and clicking with it. So I'm not sure why you wouldn't always select both check boxes, not just the first. But again, I haven't seen many applications, KDE applications, have this XML element for input control mod methods. So I would say leave it out for now. Minimum surface size. Also, KDE applications do not actually usually provide a minimum surface size in upstream files. Desktop file, we have it in here. And go. And says that the correct name of the file is org.k.kcalc.metainfo.xml. So this file name is older. Again, if possible, try to create a merge request where you suggest that you just rename the file from appdata.xml to metainfo.xml. Then see maybe the generator, the wizard from the upstream project creates a bit better content for the upstream file, XML file. Let's see if that's the case. So it's UTF-8 all uppercase, probably the same thing. Component type, desktop application, correct with a minus. Okay, so this can be superseded. This is correct. Summary was correct. The two licenses are not okay. So should be GPL 2.0 or later, not GPL 2.0 plus. The first one is okay, CC-1.0. Eventually, you can look at the XML side by side in a desktop difference viewer. And in here, you will be able to better see that this part is extra and does not exist in here, that this thing has been uppercased. Project group KDE, what is that? Yes, this thing exists. Launchable type, desktop ID, org.k.kcalc.desktop/launchable. Sounds okay. Okay, so unfortunately, this wizard creates just very few XML elements inside the file, but those that it created are almost similar to what we already have in our file with this exception. This versus this. Don't blindly replace the license's name, because these must comply with various standards, with probably the reuse project. So maybe reuse accepts both these and these, or only this. You should ask around. Say something like this: inside the upstream XML file, there's an XML element project underscore license, which is actually a enum. What are the possible values in that enum? Do we have this or this? Okay. So you should, again, use the various sources of information, the way appdata.xml files and metainfo.xml files look in different KDE project, GNOME projects, FlatHub projects, whatever the upstream wizard does, and come up with the best metainfo.xml file that you can find. For instance, I have decided that UTF-8 should be lowercase. I have decided that desktop should not exist inside ID. etc. I have decided that developer should look like this. Different KDE projects do it differently. Provides. Okay, so let's see in action the validator application. So there's an upstream CLI application that's from the upstream project. Let's actually see what the upstream project actually is. So upstream is actually a open source project. It's packaged for Debian and the Debian Ubuntu Linux operating system family, but also for other Linux operating systems. It probably pre-installed because in my operating system, which is Ubuntu 25.04, the KDE App Store Plasma Discover is pre-installed, and maybe upstream is a dependency of upstream libupstream Qt, which is a dependency of Discover. And probably part of this project, there's upstream CLI. Let's see if that's the case. Apt file search -i/bin/upstream. Yes, the name of the package is upstream, and the name of the executable is /usr/bin/upstream CLI. So let's execute it in the Microsoft Visual Studio Code terminal. Upstream CLI. Version, verbose. It's maximum. There's options and there's a validate file. Let's see that. The validate is a verb similar to the git command line. Okay, but this validation is not in-depth enough. Using the options, you should specify a more thorough validation. The help is where you would expect it. Parts of the command line and then --help. We're looking for --pedantic and --explain. Let's see the previous command line. Pedantic and explain. Okay, let's see what it says. So it says that there's a paragraph that's too short. Less than 80 characters. Yeah. Okay. Then also in my wiki page, I have a bit of documentation. nmariusp.github.io, community.org.kd/user:nmariusp, and advanced and upstream. I have also a way of finding issues in all of the KDE Git repositories. For instance, if you're using KDE Builder, you can build many KDE Git repositories. There's ways of downloading hundreds of KDE Git repositories using KDE Builder, but not actually building it. So with the command line -src only. And this way, in tilde/kd/src directory, there will be a ton of KDE Git repositories git cloned. And then you can use a command line like this, or even the one with pedantic. Let's see how that works. So --pedantic, this thing. Let's see if it works. We're not using T, so we need to wait a ton of time until the file a.txt is being generated. Let's replace this thing with T. So we're both writing to the file tilde/a.txt, but also to the screen, because we did this redirection, standard output and standard error, and then go towards T and tilde/a.txt. Some of these issues you should not do first. Some of these issues you should postpone for a while, like first para too short. This is not one of the first things that you should improve, one of the last ones. And you see it often. In developer name tag, yeah, you should intervene and change towards the newer syntax, which is the one with where is it? This guy. So you should migrate towards developer ID or KD name translate no KD. CID contains uppercase letter. Okay, and then it complains that content rating for age rating is missing, so to add that thing. I even have a list that was up to date 2 years ago with issues found in hundreds of KDE Git repositories. But from what I say, I'm not sure if I have used the --pedantic command line parameter, which I would use. Summary has dot suffix. And it also looks at the translations. So you should not improve the translations if it complains that there's a dot at the end of a translation, then you should see if there's a dot at the end of the first English XML element that's then translated. And if in the English version there's no dot, then there's nothing you can improve, because we improve only the English strings, and then the translators do their job automatically. Eventually, you can suggest to the translation team that, hey, the English string does not end with a dot, and this is the reason, because summary should not end with a dot. That's the rules for upstream, so you should remove the dot at the end of your translation, this thing. Utilidade da limpeza do sistema. So from the Portuguese, or maybe Portuguese European and Portuguese Brazilian translations. but don't change the translations yourself. You should always involve the translators, and they will decide if they will edit the translations or not. So this would be it. What I would want is that many important KDE Git GUI applications get to be present into these many app stores, Snap Store, FlatHub, Windows Store, Google Play for Android, and F-Droid for Android. And also I also want that many KDE graphical user interface applications are available as binary installers, executables for various operating systems such as Mac DMG, Linux AppImage, and Windows Exe, provided by KDE, because these are not using any app store. And then these many applications are presented the same way across all of the stores with the same screenshots or whatever. A screenshot that shows how the application runs and looks like on that operating system. But for instance, in the case of KCalc, this is an incorrect screenshot because it has this black tool bar. The application title bar is the wrong color. This is the correct color. So at least make it show the exact same information, the exact same text, the exact same screenshots across all of the app stores. If there's reasons for the text or the screenshots to be a bit different on different app stores, then do as needed. But the fact that there's so much difference between this text and this text and this text, that's not great. Make sure you're using the same application logo everywhere. And if possible, when you're browsing the app stores and you see one KDE application, there should be an easy way from that application to go to the rest of the KDE applications from that app store. Some app stores make that really easy, such as the Snapcraft. You just click on the publisher, or FlatHub, but no, not this. How do you do it? By KDE. If the App Store doesn't make it very easy, then maybe you can add a link somewhere, maybe in the description. I don't know. At least make it possible, if you just search for KDE, that all of the KDE applications appear. Some app stores make this really, really complicated, like F-Droid, which we don't really know how to search for KDE and make the F-Droid app store show all of the KDE applications, or going from one KDE application to another one by just clicking around without searching. So this is it. Happy packaging KDE applications and improving the metadata that's shown in app stores. Thank you.